Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. I wanted to come on today. For those of you who don't know who I am by now, you should. Dr. Maisha, Mind Remapping Academy. I wanted to come on today to talk about how much our words matter. And when I talk about our words, I'm talking about not only the words that you speak out loud, but the words that you speak to yourself internally. I'm always telling my son, be careful with your words, be careful with your words, because they are so important. And so what I want to talk specifically about today is where we put our focus. Are you putting your focus, because look, where we put our focus tends to be how we formulate our language in any given time, right? So are you putting your focus on what you want, or are you putting your focus on what you don't want? Now, a lot of times when we're trying to achieve a goal, like a next level goal, or if we're trying to move away from something that's displeasurable, we tend to put our focus in one of two places. Either we're putting our focus on where we want to be, or we're putting our focus on where we want to get away from. Why is this so important? Because when we're putting our focus on what we're running away from, oftentimes you hear people say, you might hear yourself say, well, I don't want to do this anymore, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and I don't want, right? And for those people who focus on where they're going, a lot of times it's, well, I want to make this much money, and I want to impact this many lives, and I want to, and their vision is forward, not backwards, not in the rear view. Well, here's why this is so important, especially from a mind remapping standpoint, because that's what I'm talking about, right? And I'm going to bring it to a larger scale in just a moment too, so stick with me. The brain, linguistically, this is why we must be careful with our words. The brain linguistically does not recognize the negative, okay? What that means is when you're saying what you don't want, your brain doesn't recognize the don't part. So what do you think that leaves you with? That leaves you with more of what you don't want. So if you're saying, let's take relationship, for example, and you are creating that ideal partner in a relationship, and you say, well, I don't want any drama, and I don't want him to have this or her to have that. You're saying all of the I don't wants. Your brain doesn't hear the negative aspect of that. And here's the thing, linguistically speaking, when we begin to talk about the things that we're wanting or we don't want, the brain's reticular activating system is listening, and it tends to want to match whatever is linguistically coming out of our mouths all the time. Okay? And so if you're constantly saying, I don't want drama, or I don't want to be broke, or I don't want to lose my job, then the reticular activating system only hears lose my job, or want to lose my job, or want to be broke, or want to, not have enough money, or want to, like that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Now I want y'all to be typing in the chat box if it makes sense what I'm saying here. So what you want to do is you want to be focusing on that which you do want. What are the results and the outcomes that you want to produce? When I'm working with a lot of my business clients, I often have them set goals, but also determine what their why is. Because at the end of the day, like that thing that you're moving towards, if you keep your eye on that, then your brain is going to do all that it can to produce that result. All right, let's bring it a little bit bigger, right? We're in a very treacherous time right now, and the next few days are critical. We all know this, right? A lot of people are focusing on who they do not want to win, as opposed to the outcome that they want. Now, there are some people who are not pleased with either candidate, and I'm not talking about that, right? What I'm talking about is the fear-based, there's a fear-based thinking when you start to go into what you don't want to happen versus an empowered thinking of what you want to visualize moving forward. So you better be thinking more about the outcome you want rather than the outcome you don't want from a global standpoint. And if enough of us think about the outcome that we do want, we may actually produce that energetically, okay? But bringing it back to your own life, what are the things that you're running away from, and how can you shift that to what you're running towards? And I can tell you, in my own experience, in my own life, this is something that I've always used. Even before I learned the mind remapping, it was just something that I think thanks to my mom, that I always used to do. And I'll tell you, one of the big things was people always ask me, how did you get into medicine? How did you decide to become a doctor? And it was really interesting because it was not like some big event. It was that I had an 8th grade writing assignment. And in that 8th grade writing assignment, I found Emory University and decided to write them. They wrote me back and I decided I was going to be a doctor at that moment. And that's all I ever looked at. That was my whole end game, to be a doctor, And so, of course, and then I decided I was going to go to Emory undergrad. But that's all I could see. That's what I fixed my eyes on. I'm going to Emory. I'm getting into medical school. I'm getting into my first choice residency. I never thought about, well, I don't want to get rejected. I never thought about, well, I don't want to fail. I just thought, no, this is the goal. This is where I want to go. And all of those things showed up. Now, that was by, the work that I produced, the work that I did, and, the community around me, and of course, by God's grace. However, if I was always focused on what I didn't want, the path might have been filled with even more obstacles. And so what are the things that you're focusing on today that you notice you are using more of that what you don't want than what you do want? What are those things for you? And how are you going to shift that language and start to think about what is the vision that you do want? What is the result that you do want to produce, as opposed to the result that you're avoiding? Stop looking in the rearview mirror and start looking forward, okay? So that's one of the things that I wanted to share with you all today, but I'm gonna pivot a little bit because I did talk just a few moments ago about the week that that is upon us. And I think it's important, and I thought maybe I should do a different live, but no, I'm just gonna keep talking here because I think that it's very important for me to say this now while I have the time. It's very important for us to look at how we're going to take care of ourselves. How are you going to take care of yourselves over the next few days? Because this is a highly stressful time. And I believe that when we are, the time that we're coming in it's important for us to focus not only on what we want, but how we're going to honor our space. Part of the thing I think is very important in remapping your mind and fortifying and nourishing one's mindset is protecting your mental space and protecting what you allow into that space. And so a few things that I'm going to do that maybe you could take on. Number one is limiting social media during this time, limiting the consumption of social media during this time, right? There's only so much per day that I can take because I know that the feeds are going to be flooded with politics. And for me, I need to protect and choose to focus forward on the thing and the result that I want to be produced. Okay. I'm not going to be staying up all night watching the results. I have voted. I have done my part. And I have, empowered others. And now it's like when you're baking a cake, I don't know if there's any bakers in the crowd right now or any people who cook in the crowd right now who are listening. When you put something on the stove, I say when you're baking, like when you put the ingredients together and you put the cake in the oven and you got to bake the cake for 20 minutes. You don't go to the oven every minute and look in the oven to see if the thing is done or not, right? That's stressful. You put the thing in the oven, you set the timer, and when the cake is done, the cake is done, okay? So at this point, we people who have voted early, we have done all that we can, and we can continue to empower others to vote. Those who will be voting on election day, once that time is over, then it's time to take care of yourself. And there are lots of things, be around community that can empower you, keep yourself safe, limit the amount of social media and television that you're going to be watching that's related to the election. Find something alternative to do to actually distract or refocus your attention. Perhaps you do a good workout, or you choose a movie that you can watch, or perhaps you cook a good meal. You just want to really take care of yourself. I'm gonna take a nice long hot shower with some essential oils, and I'm gonna go to bed early and get a good night's sleep. But we know that we're prepared for a few days of the unknown, of uncertainty. And uncertainty can be uncomfortable. We all know uncertainty can be uncomfortable. But it's really important that we prepare for that uncertainty, and we plan and insert things in our day and in our schedule that both empower us, relax us, and really just take care of that space. So what are you going to do? What is your plan? Because if you don't have a plan, then you can plan to be, stressed out and attracted to some of the media things that tempt us to be looking at the cake before it's done, right? So I encourage you, if you're listening live or if you're listening on replay, to drop in the comments for me and for those who will come after you some ideas of things that you can do to take care of yourself during these coming days, during this coming week, so that you can minimize the amount of stress that could take place. And some of you may be not stressed at all, but it is a heightened emotional time, and it's important that we take care of ourselves as we continue to focus on the outcome that we're producing, both in our personal lives, and maybe this is the time to put your head down. That's right. Go for a long walk with a friend. And connection is so important. Meditate. I love it. Meditating. Connection is so important. Connecting with a friend and or a loved one or your partner, someone who can, really empower you. Cuddles, playing games with the kids, having a little game night, like all of these things are really good. And so it goes back to focusing on the result that you want. And maybe this is even a good time to, if you're having a project that you want to do, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, it's a great time to create even. Right? It's a great time to create. It's a great time to get a lot of work done. You'd be surprised that when we turn off all of the distractions, which primarily all of this stuff is going to be distractions, how much work can get done, how many people that you can connect with. Yes, exercise and check on others. All of these things are things that you can do to take care of yourself. And I think it's going to be so important to do that, as well as keep the focus. Some might even, I saw meditate, prayer might be one as well. But remember, be careful with your words. Remember, your language matters. Focus forward, not backward. Focus on what you want and not on what you're trying to avoid. Okay? That, if there's anything that I want to leave you with, and this is globally for outcome of our nation, for outcome of our world, for outcome personally, for outcomes in your relationships, for outcomes in your family. You want to focus on what you want rather than focus on what you're trying to avoid. And that is why vision boards, goals, affirmations are so powerful, because you have to state them in the positive, self and future. And when you do that, your brain literally begins to look for and create a match in the world for that. So that is what I want to leave you with. Focus on what you're trying to create, and less or not at all on what you're trying to avoid. All right. So sending you all lots of love today and for the rest of the week. Remember, if you want to join a community where we go more into depth into conversations like this, mind remapping, tips on doing learning these types of tools with our children, with our relationships, in our business, and just even letting go of negative things in the past, I invite you to join me in the Mind Remapping Nation. And the link is in the bio. You can just click and check us out. It's free for 14 days. And then when you know you're in the right place, you can join the membership. But I invite you, this is where we're going to be going deeper into this conversation and these types of conversations. And we need this more than ever. Our community, we need this because there's not a lot of that going on. A lot of empowered speaking, learning, deep personal work, deep transformational work in our community that is going on. So you are welcome. You're welcome. Thank you all for hanging out with me this afternoon. I will be coming on Thursday again to chat a little bit more about community and my journey from isolation to really being blessed and filled with community, and why community matters so much, especially in times like this. So come hang out with me again on Thursday, and Friday. I'll be coming on more consistently and more often to chat with you guys and give you all some mind remapping tips so that you can be at the source of your lives. Okay? I will see you a little later this week, and also hopefully in the Mind Remapping Nation. Have a great day.